This is Jacques Santucci, president of Opus Consulting, a business performance management firm.
And this is Don Martelli, chief operating officer of the Belfort Group, an integrated digital marketing and PR agency. Welcome to the Re.Invent Videocast, a real-time exploration of how to successfully manage disruption in business.
There's many reasons why businesses are disrupted: global market performance, competition, pandemic, and much more. Re.Invent will feature interviews with experts across a range of industries who will share tips you can transfer to your business. Our contacts, our friends, your friends, Re.Invent New England. Hello, Jim Chalmers is with us this afternoon. Jim, good afternoon, good morning. How are you doing?
Hey, doing great, Jacques. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So how about you give us a quick introduction of who you are?
Certainly. Jim Chalmers, the Chalmers Insurance Group. We are an independent insurance agency, been around actually since 1857. I'm a fourth generation Chalmers, along with one of my cousins, Dottie Chalmers Cutter, in the family business to take and operate and take us really hopefully to the next generation. So we have office locations throughout Maine and New Hampshire, physical locations, but really do business throughout New England and throughout the entire United States.
Wow. That's a long history for a company. I'm sure the way you market today is much different than you did back in 1857.
I think a little bit, back then I think it was more horse and buggy, and you'd work like right downtown Bridgeton, and that was about it. That was, sure. I think your sphere of influence wasn't even probably the whole town.
That's incredible.
It was, your little world. Yeah.
So are you like the movie Highlander, where each generation is the same guy coming back up?
It's we'll see how it goes as we each go along. It was my dad and his brother, and it was their father who joined his father-in-law. So it was kind of an interesting diagonal going down and through, and how it shifted from one side of the family to the other back in, say, probably the 40s.
Wow. Well, I guess the one thing that's probably constant is just word of mouth and the importance of relationships with your clients, right? If to be in business for that long, something is going right, and the markets and the way you market has changed over decades. But I think the one thing that's probably consistent, that you probably would echo this, is the relationships you've created and sort of the importance of those relationships in business.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, it is interesting thinking about it, and right, how and what did you do business in 1857, early 1900s to even 3 or 4 years ago? I mean, It's certainly, and I know we'll talk about it, I'm sure, as we go along, but just evolving and reinvesting in your any business and who it is and what does it look like. Because if you're not willing to change and evolve and reinvest in yourself, I don't care if you've been around for 5 years or 160 years, your competitors really don't care about that, and the consumer doesn't necessarily care about that.
Good point.
So we are getting close to the summer of 2020, and we've been in a kind of a new situation, unknown situation, the pandemic situation for 3-4 months now. What has changed for you? You talk about relationships. I'm sure relationships have changed, but how are we catching you today? What has changed?
Yeah, well, that's quite a bit has changed, I'd say, for sure. I mean, certainly for us as an organization, but then also for our clients, our customers and clients. And the big part for us is, I'd say about over 85% of our workforce, my employees, are working from home or working remotely right now. So, we've always been a very heavy community-based insurance agency. I mean, you really look at where we're located on Main Street, Main Street, New Hampshire, involved, live, work, play in the communities. And so that's so important to us, with the service industries that we work with and other specific industries. And so looking at how, though physically our doors are closed, right, we're not allowing in customers, but we're open for business still, right? So physically the doors are closed, but we're still open. Folks are still working. And we've evolved, and it's been great watching our clients evolve with us, even some of the, I'll call them the old guard, that always wanted to come in every week and pay by check or cash, have learned new tricks, how to get their insurance policies together and how to pay the premium, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit more. I'd love to hear about sort of just from a tactical perspective, how have you had to shift your workforce to meet the needs of your clients? Obviously, technology is a big part of that, but think of some of the things that you're doing now that you might not have been doing before this happened.
Yeah, well, becoming an expert in online meetings, right? Like everyone else. So, no matter what platform you're using, we've all been pretty good and well versed in it. And so, it's been a couple things. One interesting part is we can never say you can't over communicate. So whether it's to our employees or to our clients, so communication is a huge part. And we're here for you and working right with the technology. So whether it's using things, we've been heavy believers in technology. So over the years, we've invested heavily. We want to make sure that we're here for another 160 years, right? And so, if you're not growing, you're going. If you're not reinvesting yourself and doing the things that you think you should be doing, from, in our view, sometimes it's simple things, but for others, it's maybe they're not doing it, from DocuSign to we have our agency management system for our client base is cloud-based. Our phone system is internet-based, so it can go to the office and get kicked through to my cell phone or anyone else's cell phone if they need it. And just taking, policy delivery, right? We used to always be a very paper-heavy industry. I think, we still are a pretty paper-heavy industry. Sure. That might not ever always change 100%, but a lot more of communication via email, policy delivery, issuance via email. We have an online platform that our clients can go on now and you'll log in and see all their policies and just really moving that communication.
That's great.
I think one thing I'll add is it's been interesting too, the efficiency and almost, I'm sure even with you and your clients, your colleagues, and seeing, used to be times when we would drive 2, 3, 4 hours to go see a client, right? For even a 1 hour meeting. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, we'll Zoom or, whatever platform you're using, hop on, have your meeting, and then you hop off and here you are still at your office. And so we found that, for a lot of our outside sales team, they're gaining hours every single day so they can do more.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of folks have a new appreciation for time, just in how you manage that time throughout the course of the 24 hours we are on this this journey over the course of a day. And you find that, maybe you're up a little earlier and working a little bit later or kind of checking email at different times, but it also gives you obviously some time to connect with folks that you might not have connected with in the office from time to time, because you want to make that connection. In our environment, we have an open floor plan, which is more like a newsroom. So I turn around and I talk to this colleague, talk to that colleague. Well, now I turn around and it's my workout area or my laundry. So there's really no staff, and I find myself forcing those communications because as a COO of the company, it's my job to make those connections. And I'm sure you and Jacques are probably the same way. We're leaders and we have to make those connections. And if it is a text message or it's a quick Instagram post or it's an email or it's a Zoom, it's important to make those connections, especially in your line of business being, I know folks that been with your insurance company for decades and their kids are now with them. And it's because of the service and the level of effort you put into those connections that's really important. So I hear you loud. We might not be able to shake hands right today, but we can still make visual, make eye contact, listen and have a conversation. So it's important.
That's a huge part. And I'll tell you to kind of piggy off of that, to your point of connecting with your employees and your folks, is that's been a pleasant surprise for me in that because of all our locations and our number of employees before, our senior leadership team, our management team really were challenged to get out and have those positive impacts. We're really ones for, corrective feedback consistently and working with folks and chatting and evolving and education. And so really to get out there and get in front of them was a challenge. And for me to get to really know the employees and get out the offices was a huge time challenge for me. And now with what we have, our bi-weekly huddle. So each office has a bi-weekly huddle. And so it allows us to, when we can, certainly at least one manager and or senior leadership person can hop on for that 45 minutes and say hi. And I know the employees have told us they've enjoyed it now because they've actually seen us more now than in the past.
It's great.
So, I'm optimistic and I think, things are going to start getting better, pretty soon. Some people think, it's going to take, 2 years before it gets back to, whatever a normal situation would be. either way, do you think that your company is going to actually keep some of the things you already put in place, for a long time? I'm not talking about the working remote, right? Because, we're all humans, and I think people are going to start, they're going to want to, work, with each other, and some people cannot work at home. But, in general, right, that idea of working in a different way, less travel, do you think that's something that's going to stay at Chalmers Insurance?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I mean, the working from remote, working from home, working remotely, that's something that's here to stay, and it's going to be a varying degree. I mean, actually, as of today, we have a new employee, and she's 100% our first remote worker. Doesn't lives several hours from our closest office. So, it's opened our eyes and the opportunity to look for talent elsewhere, not just in the backyard, but really in how we operate and do business. I'm a huge relationship person. That's just how I've grown up. Grew up in Bridgeton, live in Bridgeton, and whether I'm doing business in Bridgeton or going to Portland or wherever it is, I'm always a face-to-face. I do better meeting and talking to people. So having opportunities like this, certainly to chat with folks, and so we might all get a little exhausted by the end of the day from the online meetings. I think it's made us more productive, though. I'm certain, getting out of the windshield time and just being able to hop on, have those conversations, which are certainly more productive than, in my opinion, than just a conference call, seeing face to face. I mean, I had a board meeting the other night, and it was the old school conference call, and you realize how clunky that can be when you have that moment of silence, right? And then three people try and talk, and then they all say, "Oh, you go." And then you're like, okay, then no one goes. Then you all go again. Instead of at least here, we can see each other and say, okay, I can tell, you're about to speak, and I'll be quiet. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's funny. I think you're right about how disruption, there is some positivity in that. As a New England-based firm, for the most part, we would really never hire somebody from California unless they were moving to Boston and hire them. But now, as we think about expanding our work, the talent pool is now quadrupled, if not more, because now we could hire people that are remote that don't need to be in Boston or in Maine, for example, to do what we need to. I always joke with my kids, I can do this job from the moon if I have an internet connection. I can email, I can make phone calls, I can see people, I can interact. So I think it does have folks like us, and my dog agrees. How do we use this opportunity to try to expand the business in some way, shape, or form, either through hiring people or acquisitions or new markets?
Yeah, and that's become more the norm, right? We no longer feel the need to apologize for our dog or maybe the kid running in the background, because we're all used to it, right? We all
exactly
have we all have that challenge, so it's not any less for any one person than another. Yeah.
So do you think that's going to help your agency to actually expand in other markets, geographic markets? I mean, I know you're present in Massachusetts too, because we talked about some of your clients there, but do you think you're going to expand, outside of your original footprint more?
Yeah, I mean, it always has you thinking about, right? I mean, how we've grown and expanded in really two ways, right? I mean, just from growth, acquiring the business and bringing on new clients, and/or acquisition. In the insurance agency world, mergers and acquisitions continue to be a big part of the growth for agencies that are on the acquiring side. And throughout the years, we've been pretty good about acquiring agencies, and that's been a lot of our success and growth. And sometimes it's a book a business, retiring agent, and bring it in. So we're always looking at opportunities there. But to your point, right, bricks and mortar can be very expensive, and so is it talent you're looking for? Is it the book of business and growth? But also with the technology and the opportunities within our insurance company partners, it does allow us to have that opportunity to call on businesses, to make relationships, have referrals from clients that are looking to us to help them and help others. And so whether it is even Vermont or Massachusetts or Southern New England or elsewhere, we certainly can look to help them.
And do you think your services or your products are going to change too? I mean, I think some of us got a check back from our car insurance, right? Because we're not driving at all, which I thought it was at least a good sign from the insurance company. But do you think that some industry is going to change so much that you're going to see an impact, up or down in your case?
Yeah, no, and I mean, like a great case, the auto insurance, and/or workers' compensation. So with furloughed employees, with work from home employees, there's changing in classifications for workers' compensation and payroll. So that has a direct impact on, whatever industry down to us as an insurance agency. And so how we look and feel like that, I mean, it's one, our economy, our world is one giant spider web, and you pull one string and we all feel it across the board.
And do you think that you're going to feel a change on the type of policies, or maybe the amount of the policies on the commercial real estate? Because, I think we got to assume that some leases are not going to be renewed and things like this. Do you think, what's your take on this?
It's interesting. So, right, I mean, for us, the biggest city and commercial market that we're in is Portland, right? We're not in downtown Boston and involved in that piece. So talking to some real estate owners, that developers that we have in downtown Portland, they're still full steam ahead, it seems like, and they have wait lists in some of their apartment buildings and retail service buildings that they're actually building out and renovating. And we had a client, he's closing on 2 buildings this week in Portland. So they're bullish on it, which is interesting. But on the flip side, I mean, we have friends in downtown Boston, as we were talking about earlier. They have 3,000 people in their firm, and only 300 are coming back. The other 2,700 are going to work from home remotely. So actually, that couple, family friends, are moving to Portsmouth. They're leaving Boston and buying a home in Portsmouth. And if they need to go into Boston for a meeting once a month or something, they'll do it. But they'll be working from home. So from to your point of looking at insurance companies, right, the returning premiums on auto. There's changes on the workers' compensation and on the general liability, right? So that ebbs and flows based on your exposure and the premiums. So there's been a lot of audits, return premium, as we say, to the consumer. But on the flip side, the insurance companies, right, the claims are less. Not as many cars are driving right now. Workers' compensation, not as many injuries, not as many, basic slips, trips, and falls happening. So, the insurance companies can rise, ebb and flow with the tide, basically. And
great insights there. The follow-up question to your point is, now that the playing field is somewhat even in terms of people physically being in front of each other, your sales need to continue, right? You still need to sell and get in front of clients, and you have the same power of the internet as your competitors do. What has changed in how you're marketing the services you provide to your clients, and how are you attracting new clients that have never heard of you guys, even though you've been around for quite some time? What does that look like now? And can you speak to, has it changed at all, or is it because of what's going on with COVID, or have you just tweaked strategies a bit just based on what has happened?
Yeah, it's I think time will tell a little bit. I mean, again, we're always trying to evolve. And so it's figuring out, where do we find those new clients and those new relationships? So one is really with our current clients. Hey, and if we're doing such a great job for you and you appreciate what we do, can you either, proactive reach out? Hey, we know you work with ABC. Can you make an introduction for us? And/or I always call it a major and a minor, right? So we have a couple niche segments in commercial side that we work with. And so with all our outside sales teams, hey, be involved in an industry that you enjoy and that and you want to be a part of, right? We have a youth summer camp program, youth serving organizations that we work with all throughout New England. And that's what I truly enjoy doing, and my passion and being a part of that. Obviously, talk about a disruption in an industry is summer camps right now, right? I mean, very few are going to operate this summer. And it's been a huge challenge for them. We've been working with them, gets back to that communication, transparency, and helping them really take their insurance policy and scale it down based on what's happening for them. And so acquiring new clients is certainly, right, the networking, right? We're not going to a chamber right now.
Yeah.
You're not going out to a cocktail hour.
Yeah. Virtual cocktail hours, right?
Virtual cocktail hour, exactly. And all those things. So it's trying to figure those things out. We have a full-time marketing manager and another part-time person that's helping us on marketing, and a new business strategist in-house. So all these things are trying to help us figure out, how and what. And then these aren't insurance professionals per se. They're people that, hey, let us help you if there's an industry or a certain segment that you want to go after. Let us help you kind of think about it, not just from that insurance technician standpoint.
Sure. I'm sure you could probably describe the types of clients you have. I'm the, set it and forget it kind of type, right?
Yeah.
So once it's done, I don't want to hear from my guy at all unless there's something that he's going to help me with, and so on and so forth. But, I'm sure you have those types. But those that how do you continue to foster those relationships, especially in the set and forget it? If you've got someone who's been with you since 1857, and they set it and forget it,
Yeah.
how do you maintain those relationships, and how do you grow those little little parts of your business? Because obviously all the little parts add up to one big part. But how do you grow?
Yeah.
What's the growth strategy?
No, that's a great. So we have, I mean, a lot of it's through technology. I tell you, right, we can't ask all our frontline account managers to call every single client every single year and every renewal, right? I mean, that would sink them.
Sure.
And just not enough time in the day, and then handling that day-to-day customer who does call in for policy change or whatever it is that they need. So we have technology that will on a monthly basis almost send a pre-renewal meeting renewal email out. So basically you would get an email several months beforehand saying, hey, thanks for your business, we appreciate working with you. If there's any changes, if you've done an addition, you put a pool in, you bought a boat, got a toy, a new car, your kid's 16 now, and heaven forbid they're driving, know. And we want to make sure that we're up to speed with you on that. And so a lot of it is, when we talk to folks, like, wow, I've never heard from my insurance agent, whether they want to or not, then it begs the question of, okay, we are outreaching, we are being proactive. I mean, all our commercial clients, every single year we reach out to them, even if it's a 30-second, hey, if nothing's changed, we're here if you need us. We have clients that call us every week based on what they are. So yeah.
Well, if you've been in business since 1857, you're doing something right.
I hope so. We don't want to be the ones that screw it up, right?
Well, I've always said that I think social media was developed for us as a society to be more social, and it sort of drove us to not be social, more envious of what other people were doing. This situation where we're all locked in our offices and basements has forced us to use technology to be more social and to be more communicative. So it's good to hear that companies like yours that is still the sort of the small dog, fighting the good fight against the bigwigs, if you will, doing well. Clearly, if you've been doing it for that long, something's working. So
thanks.
Nice job.
Thank you. And what's nice too is I find sometimes it can be on your time, right? I mean, you're not. I mean, yes, I'm sitting here always thinking about insurance and thinking about in the business and working on the business and in the business, so I can email, text, whatever it is to a client, say, hey, questions for you or following up with you. Then on your time you can answer. It's not when it's convenient for me to call you and then for you to have to drop what you're doing. But hey, let's find a mutually convenient time to sit and chat and go through what you need.
It's great.
Well, good. So I know you don't have a crystal ball, but do you have any wise words, or what does your insurance crystal ball tells you, right? Because after all, you guys are the king of risks or risk management. So you must have some tips for us.
Change is inevitable, right? I mean, the insurance industry is always changing. So, and I don't want to speak just specific to change, but my cousin and business partner, Dottie, and I wish I could. I need to give this credit to someone. I was trying to figure out. She heard it on I think a main biz. Our HR manager, Dottie, my cousin's, our operations, president of operations, and they've been on so many webinars and technology. Right? No one person knows everything about the pandemic. No one knows what this is going to look like down the road. So the pulling the resources, listening in on attorneys, listening in on your webinar, Jacques, that you did with Murray, Plum and Murray, listening in on Main Biz and others, with the insurance industries had tremendous resources. And Dottie had shared with me the other day after she got off a webinar saying, hey, it's called transparency, communication, but culture, right? And so, culture is not the building you are in, but the community that you create. So, right, it doesn't matter where you sit and who or where you are, but it's really your community that you're creating internally and externally with your customers.
That's great.
And so who and what are we going to look like even in 2 months from now? We don't know when we're technically going to allow employees back in and or when we're going to open the doors to the public. It might be 2 months, it might be a year from now. We have a managers meeting Wednesday morning, and that's the big topic of conversation, and we're not going to set a date because we don't want to keep moving the goalposts, right? Say, hey, we're watching, we're learning, we're seeing, and when it's right, when it's safe, and we feel comfortable and confident, then we'll do it for our organization. But at the end of the day, we're licensed professionals, and we still need to help our clients, and we still need to retain our client base and grow our client base. And however we can continue to do that, we'll need to talk about it and reinvest in ourselves and do those things.
No, it's a smart move. I mean, that's what this Videocast is all about. I think reinventing New England, because I couldn't agree with you more. Again, my firm and my team, we can do our job. And yes, I can't, see Jacques and my friends in person and handshakes and fist bumps and all that sort of stuff, but we can still deliver on service. Right? We can still pitch media. We can still develop marketing plans. We can still develop and implement strategies to drive leads for our clients. It's the physical nature that has changed, right? Gone are the days of 50,000 people in a conference room, 3 hours brainstorming. I think things are happening, quicker, more digitally, clearly, and people don't have the time to chit chat around the cooler. Now it's sort of just getting things done in a more efficient manner. And if it's at some point, I'll let the commercial real estate experts figure out what that looks like. But for now, I think the three of us here are still trying to deliver for our clients. So it's I think we're all in the same boat.
Well, think about for you. I mean, even if 5 years ago there's an amazing talent that you wanted to hire and they lived in Texas or California, you'd probably think second of bringing them on board.
Agreed.
You'd say, hey, I can't pass up on this opportunity.
Yeah. Instead of giving them an office and a computer, now I'm giving them an Office 365 license, and we're connecting on Teams. Right? I mean, the cost of acquisition for talent is much cheaper these days, especially outside of New England. That's for sure.
Although it might be my French side, there's nothing better than sharing chit chat around the coffee, around the coffee machine. Agreed. Or in the kitchen. So I think I missed that part too. So hopefully we'll find the right middle.
Yeah, I do miss that. I mean, that's something that, and I'm sure like every industry, those quick 5 or 10 minute conversations, right? The office camaraderie, but also those learning experience. I mean, as we continue to we're evolving and growing, and so we hire for attitude, train for aptitude. Yeah. And so you might have zero, little to no insurance knowledge. So those, when you're sitting next to your team, your colleague right next to you, and then there's a learning opportunity that comes up. It can be a quick 5 minute, 10 minute conversation. Whereas you're not going to wait till some Zoom meeting to then talk about it. You do miss those quick pieces. I
agree. I think the corporate culture has probably taken the biggest whack out of everything, just because you can't have those quick turnaround conversations. And while these tools are fantastic, you still have to go through a process of finding if somebody's available, and you can't just turn around and see if somebody's at their desk, because you can't see through the internet, right? So I totally get it.
Well, Jim, we are trying to keep those conversations short, less than half hour, and I think we enjoyed the conversation with you, talking about how we are reinventing New England, how we are reinventing our businesses, with the help of our partners and the help of our employees and vendors and all of us. So, thanks for joining us, Jim, and looking forward to continuing to talk to you and working with you, and we'll catch you later.
Yeah, Jim, if somebody has a 16-year-old daughter who's just about to get her license, how should they reach out to you? What's the best way to do so?
Yeah, no, hey, Chalmers Insurance Group.com or 1-800-360-3000. 3000. There you go. Yeah.
Call Jim instead of just biting my fingernails and worrying, right?
Right.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time today, and then we'll see you on the next edition of the Re.Invent New England Videocast.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Great to be a part of it.